Yo, 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 happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everyone. My name is Justin Moore, founder of Creator Wizard, where I teach you how to find and negotiate your dream brand sponsorships. Here we are for another live stream. I am going live across YouTube, LinkedIn, X, Instagram. I probably missed one, but I'm very excited today to talk about what Sled Dogs taught me about sponsorships. Was this like a juicy title you were, or maybe not juicy, but you were curious, like, what the heck does this have anything to do with sponsorships? And you saw this photo of me holding some Alaskan Huskies in the thumbnail. And here you are, you want to know what it does have to do. And so I'm very excited to talk about that today. I am smack dab right in the middle, or actually almost ending my 10K brand deal challenge, which I've been doing over the last week or so. And it has been such an absolute blast to do this challenge, y'all. It's taken a lot out of me. I'm not going to lie. I put, whenever I do these like live challenges, or even when I was teaching my brand deal wizard course, it just, I always put everything on the line. Well, number one, because I love this stuff, but I also just want to make sure that anytime anyone invests money in anything that I'm doing, that they feel as though they get an amazing experience from it. And so I always over deliver. I can't not do that. And so I'm always like really trying to stay on time, but then the Q&A always goes like much longer and all that. It's just, I don't know. I just really love doing this. And so my voice might be a bit hoarse because I, went almost 2 hours today with the main session plus the Q&A and all that. So, but yeah, let me know where you're tuning in from in the chat. We've got in between tales, we've got Disney Mom Life tuning in on IG. We got some folks trickling in on YouTube as well. So today's conversation is maybe a bit deeper than you may have expected from me. I'm like the sponsorship guy, right? And I talk about this stuff all day long. But last week, or about, I guess, 10 days ago, I flew to Alaska with my family for a little vacation. And on our last full day, we drove about 2 hours north of Anchorage, which is where we flew into, to visit a sled dog kennel. So full disclosure, my wife, my kids, they love dogs. We don't have dogs. We have cats. We have 2 cats. But they love dogs and they love visiting dogs. And I was like, okay, this is like kind of a cool little experience for the family. And so I was like, okay, and I found out that they had 5-week-old puppies that we got to meet as well. And so the first things, I just want to give you some context to start this story. I'm going to share my screen to show you like how adorable these dogs were. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to share this picture. Okay. So this is what the sled dogs look. They had about 60 sled dogs. And I mentioned they also had puppies. This is my wife, April. Look at these puppies. They were 5-week-old puppies. And yeah, my sons, they just absolutely loved getting to meet all the dogs. And so this is just like, it's Alaska in summer. I just wanted you to like kind of paint this picture. It's not snowy. It's like summertime in Alaska. It was like some of the days we were there were like 70 and it was beautiful. It was awesome. And so I wanted to just put this picture in your mind's eye of like where we were for this. Okay. And so, there was this couple, named Roan and Alyssa behind this sled dog kennel, and it was called Susitna Sled Dog Adventures. Okay. And they weren't just giving tourists like us a ride. Okay. They were funding their Iditarod dreams. So if you're not familiar with the Iditarod, it's an 1,000-mile dog sled race across Alaska, and it is absolutely grueling. So the guy who runs this, the husband who runs this kennel, has competed in the Iditarod 3 times, and his father has competed in it 39 times and won it a bunch of times. And so dog racing or dog sled racing runs in this family's like heritage, right? That this is like what they do. But make no mistake, because for Roan, the racing is really the real passion, right? That was the thing that he really lit up about, right? The tours, we were coming out there meeting the dogs and all that, the 249 questions that I was asking about every single detail about, how you run this race. And I was just so curious about how this happened, right? The scheduling and logistics that, his wife Alyssa has to do. These things are not a compromise. They are the engine that makes the dream of running the Iditarod race possible. Everything in their life is built around this. And so what really struck me the most was how happy they were doing both of the things. They didn't seem resentful of having to do the business stuff, right? Doing these tours, leading people out on, to go across the terrain in the winter, to essentially, fund not only like the care of 60 dogs for a year, but being able to compete in these races. And in fact, I would actually argue that the tours that they do, kind of the business stuff surrounding the racing dreams, actually make them better competitors. They're more disciplined, they're more thoughtful, they're more practiced at telling their story and kind of honing their craft. And it really got me thinking, and this is why I wanted to talk about this today, which is that I think sometimes we separate our creative projects from our money stuff, right? We treat sponsorships and monetization or business strategy kind of like necessary evils that we have to endure in order to do the real work. Is this resonating with anyone in the chat? Drop it in the chat if this is resonating with you, because I have absolutely felt this at times throughout my journey that I've got this big creative pursuit, this big thing that I want to do, but I got to keep the lights on. I got to do this thing. I got to do this sponsorship. I got to do the consulting. I got to do this thing here in order to allow myself to feel as though I am worthy of pursuing this other kind of passion thing, right? And the question that I wanted to pose to everyone here: what if the business side isn't a burden? What if we chose to not make it a burden? What if we chose to view it as that the business side is actually amplifying our creativity? Because this is actually how I feel about teaching sponsorships, frankly, because every time I help a creator negotiate a better deal or rethink their pitch strategy, I get sharper at doing it myself. Because the teaching feeds the practice. And so the takeaway, and I want to hear what y'all have to say about this, is that I think the takeaway from this story that I wanted to share is that you don't have to choose between your passion and the way that you're funding the passion. Sponsorships, for example, don't have to dilute your creativity. What if they actually can fuel it? And so if you're building something that you believe in, but you're stuck on how to pay for it, maybe it's time to figure out how you can do some tours for others. Because the thing that might feel like a detour might actually just be the way through. So yeah, I don't know. I've been thinking about this on the airplane ride home. I don't know why I've been just this has been going over and over in my head, because I feel as though there's this big obstacle that a lot of creators have around. In fact, I get this message a lot, emails and DMs and things like that from people where they're leading, I've got this big vision, I've got this book, or I've got this web series, or I've got this, pilot that I want to get on TV, or I've got this, series of podcasts or whatever that I want to do, but I just don't know how I'm going to fund it because my vision is large. My vision is vast, and I would need some sort of backing to be able to support it. And I think that and this has been the single most thing that has prevented a lot of these people from even pursuing it at all. A lot of these people have never even even gone down the road of how would I actually do this on the cheap? How would I actually do this what is the budget version of this? And the way I look at this whole thing is that what if we started from the beginning of what if we actually married the business and the creativity, married the business and the passion from the get-go, from the beginning. So rather than saying, oh, one day I'll get to this thing, one day I have this big ambitious vision to make that project work. What would it take? Here's a question that I love asking when people ask me for advice about how to pursue something. I said, what would have to be true for you to start working on this tomorrow? And it always leads to a real huge unlock I just go down this rabbit hole of questions, and they say, okay, well, so I say that, I was like, okay, what would it take for you? What would have to be true for you to start working on this tomorrow? And they say, okay, well, I would have to allocate an hour after I get home from work, after I get off my 9 to 5, to actually concentrate on this. And I said, okay, Let's talk about your current schedule. How can you find a current hour? And then we go their schedule from 6 to 10 before they go to sleep, or 6 to 11 or whatever. And they say, okay, well, I have a family, so it's really busy and I'm doing the, bedtime routine and dinner. And I say, okay, great. We don't want to sacrifice family time. Okay. Once you get the kids in bed, at a certain time, let's say 8 p.m., they're like, oh, no, our kids sleep with us, so they don't go to bed until we go to bed. And so I said, okay, so what time is that? Okay, 10 or 11 p.m. And then I wake up and I start all over again. And I say, okay, all right, so let's work backwards from here. I'm going to have to give some parenting advice, not just some business advice. Your kids going to bed at the same time of you is not going to happen, not going to work. We need to get these kids in bed earlier, get these kids in bed at 8 p.m., 9 p.m., so that not only maybe you have 30 minutes or an hour with your partner at night, but you have 30 minutes or an hour to start chipping away at your creative project. And they go, oh man, that's tough. And I said, okay, do you want this thing to happen or not? Right? Sometimes I think people call me their kind of tough love mentor, because if you really want to implement things, if you really want to make things happen, we're going to have to make significant structural changes to the way that you're living your life and the way that you're working your job and the way that you're spending your time on the evenings and weekends and all this stuff too, to start chipping away at this thing that you are telling me is important to you. Right? And so I think working backwards from the goals that you say that you really want to have is a really powerful way to let's just keep asking the questions, pulling the thread. What would have to be true for you to start working on this thing tomorrow? So as I'm saying this in the chat, what is this unlocking for some of you here? What is this unlocking? Bearded Eyed Dakota says, it is unlocking things in my life that I normally wouldn't be able to do. Say more in the chat. FYI, I was looking at my total income this year and I've already surpassed 53K and just sent out 20K worth of invoices, and it's only July. Keep in mind, I work full time and I have 3 kids and a wife. Like, come on, can we just give it up in the chat for Dakota? Y'all, this is crazy. Come on, Mark the Creator in Instagram, Carol, Exploring Canada, Life with Kenya, Neller. I see you all tuning in, so let's give it up in the chat. We've got My ADV 360. We've got Bianca saying this live is about to hit deep. I think we already got pretty deep on this one, did we not? We got Sarah Dawn in the chat. Good to see you here. I love seeing y'all here. So yeah, let me know in the chat, what is this unlocking? And by the way, if you normally are on these live streams and you are a lurker, you're not someone who normally comments, I'm going to need you to come out the word works today. Give me a 1. Give me a blushing emoji, the monkey with the hands over the eyes or something. Give me something to let me know that you're here and you're validating that this is getting through to you. What would have to be true for you to work on that big thing that is a passion project, a big ambitious thing, a big goal that you have? What would have to be true for you to start working on that tomorrow? And if it's a financial thing, what would have to be true for you to feel comfortable proceeding with it, even though you did not know whether you had all the funds already allocated, sitting in an account ready to pay for this thing? Let me share a quick vulnerable story for you right now, y'all. I took out a loan to pay for my first in-person event, Sponsor Games. I took out a $25,000 loan because I didn't know the deposit for the venue was multiple 5 figures. And I didn't know, again, this was like many months in advance prior to actually hosting the event. I didn't know how many people were going to come and buy tickets. I didn't know how many sponsors I was going to be able to lock in. But in order to lock in the dates and start marketing this event, I had to commit to a venue. I had to commit to catering because that was a big part of coming to an event, right? And so I had to make tens of thousands of dollars of commitments for this event. But I was like, you know what? Even though I don't have the funds for this right now, I want this to exist. I want this thing to exist in the universe because I feel like it can have a major impact on people's lives, right? And so sometimes you have to leap into the abyss. I'm not giving advice to take loans out. I'm just saying like if there's something that you really, really believe in, that you have a huge, strong amount of conviction behind, what would have to be true for you to take action on that thing? For me, it was, okay, well, what has to be true is I have to believe so fully in this vision of having this event that I'm willing to take a risk of maybe, I'm going to, it might take a little while for me to pay back this loan. But having that 25K sitting in the account, knowing that I could, commit to the venue was a big deal for me. And also it increased the stakes, right? Holy cow. Let's talk about stakes for a second here, right? I think a lot of times we're worried about voicing our goals publicly to our friends, our family, people on the internet, because what if we can't make it happen? What if it actually fails? Right? for me at least, I have always been hugely driven by just like laying it on the line and being like, okay, I'm going to take out this loan. I have to make it work now. There's no option where I don't make it work. There was a scenario there, like leading up to the event, there was maybe like a month there where I thought I was going to lose like 20 or 30 grand. And I went into overdrive selling tickets at the last minute, locking in a few last minute sponsors. And so I basically kind of broke even just between ticket sales and sponsors. But like there was a minute there where it was, it was getting a little close. Bianca in the chat can validate this, right? I wanted like, yeah. And Sarah's mentioning here, like, again, what I'm not advocating is like, don't take loans out just because you don't, you have to have like a plan in place. I had a business plan in place for like how I was going to like, I have a business behind the event too. It's not like I don't have a business. So that really wasn't the goal of the lesson. The lesson was like, I YOLO'd here. I was like, okay, I want this event to exist. I don't know exactly how many people are going to show up. I don't know how many sponsors I'm going to get, but I still feel so confident in myself that I can make this happen. And I am speaking this thing into existence. I'm announcing the event. I'm saying, here's when it's going to be. Here's the dates. And so like when you are, one of the biggest things about being a creator, I think, and being somewhat generative in business is you're creating net new things. You're not just curating what other people have created, right? You're actually creating new things from whole cloth. And those are always the riskiest, right? Because there's not really a proven framework or a proven roadmap or a playbook of like, here's exactly what you can do. And it's going to be safe. You're not going to lose any money. There's going to be no risk. People are going to love it. Like that doesn't exist. If you want to break ground, if you want to do new things, that requires conviction in yourself. And I think a big part of this is surrounding yourself with people who believe in you, people who are not naysayers, people who say, hey, go for that goal. I believe in you. You can do this. And so maybe what would have to be true for you to start working on this thing tomorrow? It's to start removing toxic people from your life. Ooh, wow, this is getting big. This is getting deep real quickly. Maybe you have a friend who's been your best friend for a long time, but every time something good happens to you, they somehow find some sort of little dig, something negative to say. Oh yeah, something negative, something pessimistic to say. Oh yeah, but what if this happens? What if you lose a bunch of money? What if you don't sell a bunch of tickets? What if you don't get any sponsors? Blah, 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 blah. If I had that in my ear all day long, that would be so detrimental to my confidence in my own ability to pull these big, ambitious things off. So is this resonating for anyone? Anyone here in the chat? When I said that thing, what would have to be true for you to start working on this tomorrow? Maybe you have to remove people in your life who are in your way. What is this? What is this unlocking for anyone? Drop it in the chat. I'm going to take a swig while I read the chat. Disney Mom Life says this is, yes, she's saying, yes, this is unlocking. The bearded Dakota says we were already deep, but this is 100% the truth. Yeah. Y'all, a little known fact about my YouTube channel is that before it was Creator Wizard, it actually was called Advice from Justin. That was the name of the channel. I had 500 videos giving just general life advice, relationship advice, career advice. I don't know, for whatever reason, like throughout my life, people have always come to me for advice. And I don't know why that is. I think maybe even from an early age, like I was in middle school, there was this, I think really how it all started is that they started this program called peer counseling. So when people were having a tough time in middle school, rather than send those people to a counselor who's like an adult, it's like, oh, how can I relate to this person as like a young kid, right? They had their peers. So they identified a group of us. It was like about 4 or 5 people. And so every day I got to just have conversations with my peers, my friends, my classmates about things that were going on in their lives. And I think it was a really cool program because I don't know, it's just so much easier to relate to people your age, I think sometimes. And so this is what I think led me down just this interest that I have of like helping people, you know? And I've always tried to be very, very objective about things. And my favorite thing is like a role play. It's like, okay, let's imagine we're this other person that you're having an issue with. How would you feel if you were in that situation? What would you say? Like, how would you react if this thing happened, right? You probably have seen, like, if you've read my book Sponsor Magnet or watched any of my videos, like that's a big part of what I do is I'd say, okay, let's imagine we're the brand. Let's imagine we're the person that you're, interacting with. Like, that's a human over there. That's someone who wants to get a raise. That's someone who wants to get a promotion. What can we do to make their life easier? What can we do to make them look like a hero internally, right? And so I think a big part of succeeding in this game is having that level of empathy for your fellow man or woman. Disney Mom Life says, I have a YouTube bestie and we cheer each other on. It really helps build my confidence to surround myself with other believers. Yes, that is absolutely hugely powerful when you can surround yourself with people like that. In fact, I've been so thrilled to see how incredibly like on fire our 10K brand deal challenges right now. We had, I think, 115 participants, which is wild. And so like the chat has just been on fire over the last like 6 or 7 days as we've been doing this challenge. And it just reminded me of like how powerful it is to just be surrounded by a group of your peers who everyone is trying to kind of marching towards the same goal. Holy cow, Dakota just dropped the $10 super chat. No need to call this out, but here is to date night. Yes, of course I need to call this out. Are you kidding me, bro? Right here, man. You always hit me right here when you do those super chats. Really means a lot to me, man. And I'm just so thrilled to hear about all the success that you have had and are having out there on the internet. Just, man. I really appreciate it, dude. The Dakota says, this live is crazy good. Justin Moore is on point today. I appreciate it, man. I super appreciate it. All right. So as you know, these live streams that I do are for y'all. So any questions that you have around brand deals, sponsorships, negotiations, please let me know. Please drop it in the chat. Full disclosure, I may be possibly ending the live a bit early today because I could feel my voice actually starting to go out a little bit. I have been doing 2 hour live sessions basically like for a week, like every day. I took a break on the weekend, but like, it's funny. I was telling my wife this actually, like when I ran my Brand Deal Wizard course, I did it over 4 weeks. So every week, once a week, I would do basically a 2 hour live session. And that felt like a huge lift. It felt like a huge pull. But like, this is that condensed into a week and even more, right? It's like 1.5 that, right? And so it's intense. Like I mentioned, my cup is always brimming and overflowing when I do these things, and so it's actually fills my cup up rather than empties it. But still, at the same time, my body is telling me, Justin, like you need to rest. So I have one more live session for the challenge tomorrow, and so I think we're going to be on here for just a bit longer for the live stream. I'm just trying to be honest with myself and not lose my voice. So yeah, I would love to answer any questions that you have about things that are going on. In fact, if you're on my newsletter, and if you're not on my newsletter, you should be, creatorwizard.com/join. It's totally free. I send you paid sponsorship opportunities to your inbox every week. Come on. I sent out an article today about an announcement that TikTok made that they are going to be launching a new app in September because, this shutdown deadline is still looming. Of whether TikTok is going to get banned in the US. And I just saw an article recently that they're going to be spinning up an entirely new app that's supposed to be launching in September. So that's crazy. So those of you guys who have, a presence on TikTok, curious if you've read that article, if you've been thinking about this. I saw, my wife and I are working on a partnership right now, and in the contract for the first time, this is like maybe 6 months ago, it's like a long-term deal. There was a clause in the contract about what is going to be the alternative deliverables if TikTok is banned. So that's crazy, right? So brands are starting to think about what is our backup plan. So if this platform, if we are contracting this creator to do some deliverables on TikTok, and TikTok is banned, we can't cancel the contract. We've already done several other things for it. What would be an equivalent deliverable on another platform, let's say? And even if you're negotiating with a brand and some of the deliverables are on TikTok, for example, you should be having this conversation proactively. This shouldn't be the type of thing where you forge a deal in August and the deadline is looming and something happens where it's banned or whatever, and you're not able to do you don't want to then have to go back to the band and be like, what should we do? And then you get into this like contentious situation where you're like, well, I could post on Instagram. And they're like, you have half the amount of followers on Instagram that you had on TikTok. So you need to do 2 posts on Instagram or whatever. So, and then you're like, heck no, like what the heck? Right. And so, but again, it's always better to have these conversations proactively than retroactively. Does this make sense? So yeah, I'm curious if anyone, if anyone is like thinking about what will I do in my business if this comes to pass. Your Tampa Bestie says, I am not monetized on IG, so I'm so sad about TikTok. Yeah. I mean, we've seen this kind of stop and start and back and forth. Are they going to ban it? Are they not going to ban it? It went offline for whatever, 24 hours, 12 hours or whatever a couple months ago. So it's like, it's possible that it could happen, right? Let's not fool ourselves into thinking that it's like, no, it's never going to happen, this type of thing. Like it could happen, right? And so let's not delude ourselves into thinking that this is like an impossibility, okay? Bianca said in the chat, I started live streaming and I have a strict 2-hour cap because after 2 hours, I lose my voice every time. Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. I was talking with Pat Flynn at a conference recently, and I said, yeah, man, I'm having challenges. I've been speaking so much and going to all these conferences and all this. And he said, singing lessons. Vocal lessons is what really helped me, basically learn how to speak from my diaphragm and all this. And, I have done vocal lessons for sure in the past, but I don't know, for somehow maybe he had a better vocal teacher than I did. Cause I'm still losing my voice. Maybe because I speak with a lot of energy and passion. And I think maybe it's part of that is like, I put it all on the line. I'm not speaking like monotone or peacefully or low or, doing the sultry radio DJ voice, this type of thing. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I should call him up and ask for his vocal teacher. Orlando says, listening to your book, incredible information. I super appreciate that, Orlando. I'm so glad to hear that. Let's see. I got a question here from Disney Mom Life. My YouTube channel gains momentum in July with Christmas in July videos. Oh, cool. From July to December, I focus heavily on Christmas content with an emphasis on seasonal shopping, decorating my home for the holidays, and so on. Thoughts on what brands to reach out to? Well, I think you're perfectly primed to start reaching out to them now because a lot of the brands that are going to be running holiday campaigns are starting to lock in and think about those types of campaigns right now. So I would absolutely, any brand who is selling, has deals for the holidays or deals for Black Friday or deals, seasonal decor, things like that. Any brands that even are remotely have any sort of seasonal component or holiday component to their to the products that they release or special promotions or something, start reaching out to them now. July, this is the time. This is exactly the time to start reaching out to those brands because look, like if the general rule of thumb that I always say is like 1 quarter in advance. So if we're 3 months in advance, basically. So what is July? July to October. So October is when they're probably getting in market with those campaigns. And so it's absolutely prudent for you to start reaching out for those types of opportunities right now. And the subject lines of these emails are holiday / kind of Q4 campaigns, right? Obviously it should be relevant to whatever the campaigns are that they ran, but like that should be in the subject line. That's what they're going to be like, holiday, right? Who is thinking that far ahead, right? That's a creator, right? It's you because you're being strategic about it. Right. And so this is a very important insight here is realizing that it's never too early. I love that, your channel is popping off now. And in fact, that's great for you because when you reach out to these brands and then go and take a look at your channel and they're like, oh, wow, it's even doing super well in July because Christmas in July and all that. So, I absolutely think that you should start reaching out ASAP. All right, y'all. I am going to bow out for today's live stream. I'm about to lose my voice. I need to rest it for my last live session for the challenge tomorrow. Appreciate y'all, even if it was kind of a condensed live stream today. Appreciate each and every one of you very much. Dakota, super appreciate the super chat. And I will see y'all next week.